Thank you. And I appreciate you highlighting this critical issue. Having worked on the Missile Defense Review, I know how vital it is for us to address the missile defense for our homeland and across regions of great importance. I understand that the Department of the Air Force is the acquisition authority for air and cruise missile defense of the homeland and has been working with OSD acquisition and sustainment to determine the appropriate acquisition and management activities that are necessary to integrate the collective efforts across the department. And the success of the joint force can only come from the full integration of resources and capabilities. That starts with defining what our priorities are that flow from our strategic guidance documents, such as the MDR and the NDS, and then pulling those through our program budget review process every year.
Yes,
So you have my commitment to do that.
Since the Air Force is the entity, but we have all these other entities involved, and when that happens, there's a tendency for people not to be getting together. So my expectation is that should you be confirmed, this is an area, missile defense, and particularly, of course, with regard to Hawaii, is an area that you will pay attention to. One more thing for you, Secretary Dalton. I was at Joint Base Pearl Harbor, Hickam, and I saw the disrepair of the Hickam Airfield parking ramp, which endangers the Air Force readiness and PACAF's ability to project power from Hawaii. Now, we need all of the services' commitment to ensure infrastructure will support mission readiness, and I found it just totally unacceptable that these ramp areas cannot support the kind of planes, the planes that we need to take off should there be anything relating to, for example, Taiwan. So, Ms. Dalton, very briefly, how do you intend to address infrastructure across the Air Force? And I'd really like to see a request in the next NDAA about the particular, with regard to the ramp situation at Hickam.
Senator, I agree with you that we need to ensure that we have resilient and operable infrastructure, particularly for the Indo-Pacific, given the PRC pacing challenge. And the runway that you highlight is one of those critical nodes for our access, spacing, and overflight. And so, if confirmed, you have my commitment to ensure that we're making the necessary investments to ensure that we have resiliency in our infrastructure to meet our operational objectives.
My time is up, but Mr. Chairman, I just want to mention for Dr. Erickson, I'm very glad that you are so focused on the need to support STEM, particularly for women and minorities, because we are not paying attention to, I would say, 50% of our population. And I actually have a bill that would support and promote STEM education for women and minorities, and that bill happens to be in the Judiciary Committee, but obviously you have a lot of familiarity with how important STEM backgrounds are for our hiring purposes and the people that we need for DOD so that we can keep our competitive advantage. So should you be confirmed, I'm really going to be very interested in what kind of programmatic things you are going to pursue to make sure that in your, what we call in Hawaii Kuleana, your area of responsibility, that you are very much promoting STEM for women and minorities. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Rona. Senator Tuberville, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks for being here today. Huge responsibility. I think hopefully we all understand here in your position that we don't work for a president, we don't work for a party, we work for the taxpayers and the citizens of this country. I've been here 3 years. We're going on $1 trillion a year budget in the military. The biggest threat to our national security is going to be our debt. We'll be at $40 trillion before we know it. And so y'all have huge responsibilities protecting our country, building the best military ever, and also making sure that we're able to afford it in the future. Dr. Erickson, I'm proud of what you've been saying about STEM. I'm from Alabama, Huntsville. You've been to Huntsville several times, being at NASA. We're huge in the ESOP business, employee-owned small businesses. What's your thoughts about those? And again, my thoughts, if just knowing what I know about Huntsville with 400 or 500 of them, we couldn't survive, anything to do with NASA, missile defense, if we didn't have the small businesses and take care of, make sure that they're competitive.
Senator Tuberville, thank you for acknowledging our Huntsville facilities. I've also had the fortune of having an Alabama student this year working with me, an intern. I wrote 17 different recommendations for him, and he's now in grad school. So it is critical, the small business. I believe that America is built on the back of small businesses. We don't get too big without small, right? And so for me, it's been something that I've been very vehemently, supporting, because that community it's just so important. So my ideas are to listen, learn, and share, to create roadshows and workshops to help small businesses through this onerous process that they often have to invoke on to just get selected, and then also helping them through the valleys of death that we've identified. It is critical that we are ultimately going to provide other sources of resources like venture capitalism, commercial industry, partnering with them to maybe bring that to bed and manufacture. So I look at several different ways that we hopefully will support those small businesses and ultimately provide the innovative technology we need.
Thank you.
Thank
Secretary
you.
Dalton, I'm sure you've fed up a little bit with this border wall. We all are. I know people in Alabama that's bought border wall for 10 cents on the dollar, $300,000 worth for $30,000, razor wire for 20 cents on the dollar. The American taxpayer, I mean, we're all in this together. They don't deserve this. They don't deserve to pay this top dollar and then lose money on something that we probably should be using anyway. And you're getting ready to go into a job that's going to control $200 billion in the Air Force. And as you get into this job, if confirmed, hopefully you'll look back going, hey, I've got to do a better job. Whether it's my responsibility or somebody else's, we all see what's going on. And so we've got to protect our country. We've got to protect the taxpayers. Dr. Erickson, what is your assessment of the defense systems that we've sent to Ukraine and Israel, the success that we've had? What's your thoughts?
Senator, did you mean to direct that to
Dr.
Schmidt?
Dr.
Thank
Schmidt,
you.
yeah.
Senator Tuberville, I have not had a chance to understand yet, because I haven't been confirmed, what we're actually providing to Ukraine. But if confirmed to this position, I will take a very careful look at that, especially from the point of view of ensuring that the systems that we do provide are effective, suitable, survivable, and lethal, and be happy to meet with you and your staff.
The one thing I want you to look into is that recently I met with some sailors, some naval officers that have been on some of these ships shooting down some of these drones in the Red Sea. And their concern is we're spending $1 million on a missile shooting down a $5,000 drone. And that's something we can't afford. So eventually we've got to get to the point where we understand that we don't need to lose any vessel. We got to make sure that we protect ourselves, but we also need to be able to identify and use the right things that we need to use that are not costly, because as I said, we're getting close to $1 trillion. What's your thoughts on that?
Senator Tuberville, that's an incredibly important issue. As I understand it, there's a lot of work on lighter weight, cheaper, yet still effective weapon systems such as directed energy. Many of those weapon systems are based on advanced R&D. I would be very committed, if confirmed, to making sure the testing procedures we use for those systems make sure that they are in fact capable of doing their job at, as you mentioned, a fraction of the cost in order to protect the warfighters who are in harm's way.
Thank you. And one other thing I just want to say real quick is saving money, but we spend a lot of money, and we need to have the best. I will say that. But for 10 years, we've been trying to build this KC-46, and we continue to give a company a second and a third and a fourth chance. Talking to Admiral Aquilino in the Indo-Pacific, we need a long-range tanker. We have got to have, and to continue to give a company second, third, and fourth, fifth chances to build something that they obviously can't build, we need to sometimes look at another alternative. So I hope you would do that, you, Secretary Dalton, and you, Dr. Schmidt, when you get in your position.
Absolutely, Senator. Yes, I'll look into that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.